Paul and El Akman-Hodgic, is he back? Has everything gone okay with him?
Yeah, he's trained today. So his wife's not given birth yet. So we've just got a plan of action together, what we're all happy with. So he's available. He's in the squad, but obviously it's
could get called away. Though,
yeah, over 24 hours. Yeah. But we've put something together, so we're all happy. So he's comfortable that if we need to get news from him, we can. But likewise, that if he's involved, he's focused on the game as well.
Chris Basham, how's he? Is he potentially
better today? So we're going to give him till the end of play tomorrow, as late as we can. Better today. But so back, he could wake up again tomorrow morning and be the way he was the other day, But yeah, we're really happy with how it's settled down. So hopefully, if it's the same progression tomorrow, we're not ruling him out yet.
Any of the other shorter term injury lot going to be available?
Such as like Ender and the likes, and no, not yet. No.
That's fine. Is Kieran Clark fit enough to start if needed? If say Chris and
listen, Kieran's been training now, a number of weeks. The only thing he's missing is games. We've obviously used the 21s game where we got himself, Flecky in that minute, so they've had exposure to it, been training hard and working hard, but there's no substitute, is there, for the game? But we've got no concerns over him starting games or anything now.
And just in terms of him, we've had a chance to speak to him today. Clearly he's not been involved as much as he'd wanted to due to injuries and the squad depth and everything else, but has he still proved to be a vital acquisition this year?
100%. I mean, you look at so sort of him and Robbo were dovetailing at the start of the season. When one was out, one was in, and they were having to be patient to get back in the team. But I think just before Kieran got injured, he was certainly up there with one of our better players for the 4 or 5 games where he jumped back in. Then obviously sustained an injury, and then when he was coming back, he just got similar to Bash, a bad back for a couple of weeks. So yeah, he's been unfortunate, but like I said, for us and the team, it's good to have them two in that position. And as it's panned out, it's been really important we have had them two, because at certain times one's been in and one's been out, whether it's been an injury or something else, a suspension.
And to have someone with such Premier League experience, international experience, who's had a promotion out of this division, however much he plays in the next month or so, that's something that you can't buy, isn't it?
Yeah, and his personality around the place is really good. He's got a calmness about him on the pitch, which is really good, which you can't buy, as you said. So putting him on in them situations like Saturday doesn't faze him. Throwing him straight in away at Blackpool and didn't faze him. And likewise, when he's been playing and had a run in the team, he's been able to show that calmness, that competitiveness as well, because he's really competitive in both boxes, which is important for us. So yeah, he knows we're pleased with him, but it's one of them things. He's working hard. He knows he has to be patient, and him not starting games at the minute is not a reflection on what we think of him as a player.
Just for ultimate clarity, has nothing changed with regards to Doyle and McAtee ahead of the weekend? Man City haven't turned around and said anything?
It's nothing to do with Man. It's an FA rule.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with Man City.
Yeah. Reason for asking that is a few people have asked about Ismaila Koulibaly. Clearly had a big role against Spurs. What's the situation with him, and is he likely to be involved this week or potentially at the weekend?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, he's fit. He's like I say, the only thing again is he's missing out on games. Because he's been sort of in the squad when we've had reserve games and he's not played, but we need to make sure, as I said, whether for him to keep developing and pushing. It's alright in being in and around the squad, but we need to get him game time to, one, show us what he can do, and two, to improve him. So yeah, he's fit, available, and yeah, working hard to get in the team.
Is the reason why Arblaster got the nod ahead of him then for the bench at the weekend?
They'd all trained, so because it was such a late call last minute, they'd all trained, so Blaster wasn't getting on, no one was getting on. They've just been running the socks off all morning, so an opportunity to get someone up and get someone involved, and there's no one with a better attitude than Blaster, so he deserved it.
Clearly lots of positives from a 4-1 victory at the weekend against Cardiff. From one perspective, did you give them a little bit too many opportunities? Is that something that against other sides could come back against you?
Yeah, possibly. You look at it, it's one of the highest amount of shots we've faced, but in terms of where the shots from, 90% of them were from outside the box, which we'd accept, I just felt we had a spell when we went 2-1 up where they were taking more chances, getting more bodies forward behind that longer ball than maybe played on George. And then they were delivering in the box, so that was a spell I weren't that we needed to resolve and change, and then we did that, and then we were comfortable again.
In terms of this week, clearly there's a lot on it in both league and cup. How do you go about keeping the pressure off the lads at a time like this, when you put so much into a season and kind of everything comes down to what happens over the next few games?
Well, you can't. We've not hid away from the fact that we wanted to be in this position, so it'd have been pointless us hiding away and saying there's no pressure and it's just a game. We've not hid away from the fact that we wanted games to get bigger and be more on it, because we wanted to practice this, so we're where we want to be, and it's not a case of hiding from it, it's a case of us understanding how we want to cope with it and how we want to deal with it, just like we did at the weekend. There's going to be times when things don't go our way. We went a goal down, but you wouldn't have thought it now. No one's talking about that because of how we acted and how we responded, so it'd be the same. I said the remaining league games, the cup game, there's going to be difficult moments. It's not going to be plain sailing, so it's about how we deal with that, and hopefully we have more positive things happen than we do negative, and then, like I said, we should be fine.
Do you feel with the experience and character that you have got within the squad that they actually kind of revel in situations like this, and they welcome that pressure that comes with going for what you're going for?
Yeah, I like us when there's an edge to things. I don't like us when it's flat and when. So yeah, I love us when we're that way. So, well, I said, we try and play that way. We try and behave that way. And the more we can do that in games, the more positive outcome we have. And yeah, so like I said, back to your question, but we're not trying to dampen things down, and we want to ramp it up a bit.
Bristol City up next, about as mid-table as you can get this year in terms of their position and their results, but some decent results of late, really. What are your thoughts on them as a test? Yeah,
good, and do a good Saturday as well against Watford, so I don't think Nigel will be too disappointed with how they played. So the team I like, because I like their energy. I think there might be moments where they try and slow the game down at Bramall Lane, and there may be. But as a rule, them as a team, they try and play quick, try and get the tempo of the game up. I don't think they'll sit back. I think they'll come at us, and the fact they are where they are, what have they got to lose? So I think that all points towards what we think is going to happen. It's going to be a game where they come here to try and beat us, and they're not going to try and slow things down. They're not going to sit back. I still think there'll be a threat on the counter in transition, which they have, because they'll pick pace and energy, but they also try and play quick as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big test for us in that respect, but I think it'll make for a really end-to-end high tempo game.
Did you speak to Chris about them after the weekend?
No, I've not spoken to him. I've seen the game though, like I said, and they were I thought they played well, and it was a good win for Watford in the end. Watford scored goals at good times and clinical took the chances, but Bristol had a lot of the ball. Tried to do something with the ball. It weren't just having the ball for having its sake. They tried to be positive, and they also played with a lot of energy without the ball as well. So let's say we know it's going to be that type of game, and it's one that I enjoy, and like I say, if we approach it in the right way, it'll be a really good game.
And looking at games like this at this stage of the season with a team that's not going up, not going down, lots can be said about their mindset and mentality and all that kind of stuff, but from your position as a former player and a coach, do you switch off at all? Do you take anything off, or is it a case of that professionalism really kind of?
Yeah, no, you don't. I think subconsciously things can unravel a bit, but I really don't see that in Bristol. I think one thing, Nigel, throughout the season, there's been lots of little changes within his team to keep the energy up. So whilst I wouldn't be confident picking an 11, they've tended to stay the same shape the last few games, which maybe will be the same, but likewise the one common theme is the energy and intensity which they try and play, so that won't be any different. I think they've got a good mix of youth and experience in there, and I think the way they try and play, almost that freedom, the position they're in, allows them to go and do it even more, and that's why I think it's a tough game, a dangerous game. because I think if they were in a position of pressure, one or the other, it might stifle what they try and do a little bit. You don't know till you're in that situation, but where they find themselves, I think it encourages that energy, that freedom, that positivity, the way they try and play.
I imagine there'll be an extra bit of emotion around the lane this week with the sad news of Eddie Colquhoun's passing at the weekend, a real kind of club legend. Are there any kind of words that you can put into when somebody of such an ilk passes away?
Yeah, and I think there's lots of times when ex-players pass away for clubs, and it's always sad for, you know, and we will always send as a club as condolences to the family and friends. But I think in the case of Eddie, 400 odd games, real stalwart, and I think the way he played, a lot of fans could probably relate to how he played, and that's why he's held in such high regard and with such affection. So I think it is a significantly sad time, because there'll be so many Blades fans who are at the game tomorrow night who will have been watching him and will have been one of the favourite players.